Well, it's kind of sad that even in 2022, on many Android phones, you can't record 1080p videos from the front camera, 1080p videos from the front camera, 1080p videos from the front camera. And this is exactly why I don't vlog. Of course, I meant 4K. So I asked you guys if I should make a dedicated video for the camera performance of an IQOO 90, and the poll's result was quite balanced. So here I am making a dedicated video on the cameras of the BBK's, Vivo's, IQOO's 90. Hey everyone, Mukul here. So with the IQOO 90, IQOO turned out to be one of those brave brands who had the guts to chuck away those pathetic 2 megapixel depth and macro sensors from the camera modules of a phone. And I just want to say bravo to you for that. So apart from the usual wide angle sensor, it opts for a 13 megapixel ultra wide sensor that can also work as a macro sensor because it supports autofocus too, and a 2x optical sensor that works by default with the portrait mode inside the camera app. The front camera on the other hand is the most uninspiring with a 60 megapixel count on it, but that's not just because of the fact that it's a 60 megapixel sensor. I've also made a proper review of the whole phone because the phone is generally whole. You can check it out too in the cards above if you like checking out stuff. It just rained here, so it's going to be a cloudy day. Let's see how the phone performs, because generally on cloudy days you don't get harsh sunlight on your subjects, so it is supposedly will work fine, work great, but it will also challenge the low light conditions right now after the day being so cloudy and kind of gloomy. So it's not quite safe to look at the screen as I'm driving right now, but I wanted to mention that yeah, the front camera doesn't have any sort of stabilization and it records at 1080p 30 fps. So this is not a vlogging camera, but because I wanted to try something new, so I thought why not do a vlog style camera review of this phone. Now on the front camera there are a few styles which I might or might not show, but yeah, you can personalize the way you want your video to look. The front camera takes decent pictures and maintains good detail and overall exposure, but the white balance will definitely be all over the place. In low light too, the front camera captures a lot of light in the shot. I was actually quite surprised how good the pictures looked in low lit scenario. But the front camera for videos terribly sucks, and it practically has no idea what dynamic range is. Well yeah, the dynamic range kind of sucks on the front camera. More challenging conditions, and clearly my ghosty face is not visible to the camera right now. Some light is coming now and it is more visible. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed to see that you can't use the 2x optical sensor when you're recording the videos. It only zooms in with the primary sensor. Yeah, bit disappointing. I've also noticed one more thing, and that is that if you want to force switch on the auto night mode during video recordings, then you can't do that. The sensor and the camera app and the algorithm will itself decide if it really needs to turn on the auto night mode for the videos. The rear camera combination is super fun, and the 2x optical sensor isn't just a marketing number, as it actually captures good amount of details through it. But I did notice a lot of color balance inconsistencies throughout the shots. But to be honest, meh, I can live with that. The ultra wide sensor does a good job too and manages to capture a lot of details. Its ability to capture macro shots also have a lot of detail in them, and I really dig them. The rear camera for face pictures does a decent job too. The color balance is again very average, but there was a green curtain towards my right in this shot that got reflected correctly in the picture. But in a few shots you might find a weird glow just behind the head, which is, well, weird. The 2x optical turns on the portrait mode by default and has the same characteristics as the primary sensor on the shots taken by it. But I really can't claim that the phone can actually compete with the likes of Samsung S22 Ultra or anything else really in the price bracket of super ultra expensive smartphones. But for almost every social media post, the cameras are just brilliant. This is how the video quality is at 4K 30 fps. The dynamic range seems pretty decent. Even when it tries to expose the sky more, the buildings are still somewhat lit. Good day, sunny day. There's also one more mode, which is ultra stabilization, and I would say that just crops in more. This much of a stabilization is fine for most of the users. This is ultra stabilization and it records at 1080, 30 or 60 fps. This is of course 30 fps right now. And the dynamic range is pretty decent from the rear camera. So if you're a vlogger who knows how to record videos from the rear camera without looking at your screen, you won't have much troubles. The rear cameras do a great job for low lit shots from all the sensors. The color balance again varies, but I just love most of these shots. They hold on to so much details even when all of these shots were handheld. Not everyone would have as stable hands as mine. There's some gloating for you, and hence not a single picture here feels blurred. So your mileage might vary. Even the face shots in a really poorly lit environment captures a decent amount of details with both the primary and 2x sensor. Now I'm going to take two pictures, one on the normal auto mode and other on the night mode. Both of the pictures are handheld, and the night one is a 4-second shutter speed shot. And this is a 4K video recording with no stabilization on. Still, I think it's pretty good. Well, this is with the standard stabilization, and I feel it's rock solidly stable. Yeah, pretty good. And this is with ultra stabilization. Of course, ultra stabilization would mean some ultra sort of stabilized stuff, and that is why it is unable to capture more light into the sensor, which is fine. I believe a lot of people will be using the camera to record videos in such low light conditions. But there's a strange thing which doesn't work. If I zoom in to, let's say, 2x, yeah, this is 2x now. The sensor doesn't change to the 2x optical sensor on the camera. So yeah, it's kind of a huge drawback. And this is how the video quality is in ultra wide mode, and there is no option to record any sort of night mode video, but I can still zoom in and zoom out, and surprisingly, as I zoom out from 0.9x to 1x, the sensor changes. But if I go till 2x, no sensor would change. So this is how the night skies would look like at 4K at your typical video mode. And now I'm gonna change it to the night mode. So yeah, now it's on night mode, and the skies and everything has tried to lit up more, but as you can see, the footage is very grainy, and to much extent it's not usable, but still a good feature to have in case you still want to try something like this. But yeah, nowhere near perfect or good. So as you can see that the V1 Plus chip for the super night mode for videos, well, it does try to do some sort of job, but really not good enough that any of these footages can be usable. And the slow-mo video does a pretty good job even in low light condition. In the stock camera app, you can find a bunch of filters for taking a shot, and the night mode also gives you the option to choose from a bunch of styles. In video mode, you can choose the type of stabilization you want and also the kind of grid lines you want to use. Then there are more options in, you guessed it, more. Features like panorama, time-lapse, dual view and pro mode are there. The pro mode lets you use the camera like a pro and lets you customize each of these settings. I was impressed to see how many different FPS options the camera lets you choose for videos in the Pro mode. After using the camera of this phone for about 2 or 3 weeks, I can definitely say that despite being a brand that tries its best to lure the gamer audience towards it, IQOO has really impressed me overall with how the cameras of this phone performs. Apart from the front camera failing to understand what dynamic range is for videos, the overall camera performance of the 90 is pretty impressive for its price. The video from the rear camera also looked great with a lot of details on them, and I can't wait to try it more in my production workflow. So if you love talking about phone cameras, then definitely hop on to our Discord server. So take care humans, Mewbot with his array of exciting cameras on a phone finally out.